Lots of Chip Zdarsky this week, and we have yet another Chip Zdarsky. But this book is our Heroes World pick of the week for our comic book spotlight. It's by DC Comics. It's called Batman the Knight, and it's the story of Batman's origin. And it's brought to us by Chip Zdarsky. And oh my goodness, I'm not going to be able to pronounce his name, but it is Di Giandomenico. Sorry about that, pronouncing it wrong. But this book is damn stellar. It is looking at a young Bruce Wayne after the murder of his parents, and this is him as an adolescent trying to channel and funnel all the emotions that go with losing your parents. There's the anger, there's the sadness, there's the nightmares. And, you know, right off the bat, I think this is a pretty cool book because Chip is, you know, digging through the past and bringing up some interesting characters, and none other than Hugo Strange shows up as a potential psychiatrist for a young Bruce Wayne and stuff. And that was a very, very cool moment. But also Chip is also changing and kind of modernizing this take on Batman. Every, you know, I gotta say probably 10-15 years, somebody changes or adds to this mythos and stuff. And of course, with fight clubs being super popular, we see that Bruce Wayne uses his fisticuffs to try and vent his anger and learn more fighting. But this was a really interesting scene. I don't know if this was one of your favorite scenes here too, as well, Jesse. But basically, a young Bruce is getting into trouble at school, and he's lashing out, you know, with his fists. And Alfred basically brings him back to Wayne Manor, and he's like, I've removed all the books. Now you are going to read books, and we're going to refill this library, and you're going to learn to solve your problems a different way.
Yeah.
So we have Alfred being that mentor and trying to guide him down a different path, but also sparking with him that love of knowledge, which will turn Bruce into the master detective and crime fighter that we know. So really, really cool moment in there. I think that was my favorite moment of that book. But yeah, it's really well written. The art, as you can see, is excellent. What about you, Jesse? What was your favorite part of this particular issue?
I did like when Alfred took Bruce Wayne back to his library, and like you said, the Waynes they have an appetite for knowledge, and their only way to satisfy that is to read books. That's how they find their solution. So Bruce Wayne has a huge task ahead of him. He's getting into trouble in school, right? Like he's not getting into trouble. He's defending a kid who's being bullied, right? And after Alfred said that whole book thing, I think Bruce took it to heart, and he's started reading a book on botany. And in the next panel, there you see what was his name? I think it was Mitch. Mitch has to go home because his towel was rubbed with poison ivy, and he can't stop itching. It was just very clever, right? Like a little botany book, and then all of a sudden, Mitch has gotten poison ivy all over him. I I miss Alfred.
Me too, man.
Alfred's the hero in this book. Like, there's one scene where he's driving the car, and Bruce Wayne is acting like a little spoiled brat, and he pulls over the car, and he just has a breakdown. He's like, I tried, I failed you. Please just stop doing what you're doing. You're not a criminal. Stop acting like a criminal. And I think that's what leads Bruce into therapy with Hugo Strange. I think he takes it to heart.
Yep.
Yeah, just great book. I can't believe how much I miss Alfred. And there's this new character right here. Diana, is that her name? Is she new? Have you heard of her?
Dana.
Before? Dana.
Yeah, I think he's a new love interest for a young Bruce Wayne there, and I think that's one of the things that every time that we see or this story changes, there's somebody else. In Batman Mask of the Phantasm, it was a Miss Beaumont. In Batman Year One, they tried to say it was somebody else. So yeah, it's pretty cool. But they all have this kind of link and connection, and Dana's, she wants the best for Bruce, but she can already sense that he's got this darkness and this drive. And in this particular scene here, this was also a pretty funny one. Bruce is like, she asks him, well, where are you going to go to school? We're off to college and stuff like that. And he's like, oh, I'm going to go to Gotham University. And she's like, you can go anywhere. What are you going to do? He's like, oh, I want to stay here and help the city. And I want to be a cop. And she's like, you a cop? He's like, you don't take orders from anybody. You don't play nice with people. You're too driven to be a cop. She's like, Gotham doesn't need another cop. She says it needs somebody to think bigger. So again, it goes to what we were saying and Jesse was saying about, he's got to think beyond his kind of means. Like he's too focused on that particular problem at this point. But speaking of that, like there's some really cool stuff. Like look at this scene here with him, hands all bandaged up, getting ready to fight, and he's taking on a big guy and stuff. So so we got some of that really visceral combat in this, even though we haven't, there's no Batman in this first issue. So this is strictly going to be a series of Bruce Wayne, I think, building up to becoming the Knight, becoming Batman. It's a 10-part series by DC. It's going to come out monthly. And so far off to a great start. So
you've seen the television show Warriors, right?
Yes.
Does that guy in the bottom right corner there remind you of what was his name? The police constable Bill? Was it Bill?
Yeah, it kind of
he's got the mutton chops and everything. It just and there's a lot of fighting rings in that show. It just reminded me of the whole Warriors show.
Warriors, yeah, that was a cool show. And like that's the thing. Like, I think so many things are capitalizing on that kind of Fight Club. Like remember the most recent Jason Bourne movie, just called Bourne, and that first scene he's like bandaged up and takes down the guy. But that's really great in this comic because it shows that Bruce is just like, he's not a smart fighter yet. Like he gets hammered, right? But he gets back up. Like this guy got cocky and thought he took the kid out in one hit. And he just, he's tenacious. He's just, he's coming back for it. So cool book. Definitely guys, you want to pick that one up and don't miss out because Chip Zdarsky, fantastic writer, writes a whole bunch of, he's very versatile. And like I said, between Daredevil and now Batman, I think this guy, he's on to something. I think he's finding that wheelhouse. And he's doing a great job on it. As always, thank you for tuning in and continue to check us out. Heroes World online. That is where you're going to find us. All kinds of content. And remember, please, if you can, like, subscribe, tell a friend, help us spread the word.